Gentle Fireside Stories with Kate Field. Hello, a very good evening to you. It's lovely to have your company. Before we begin, find a comfortable place to rest. Somewhere warm, somewhere soft, somewhere that feels like it's truly yours. Let your shoulders ease. Let the breath fall naturally. You are welcome here. Imagine, if you like, a quiet fireside. The soft glow, the gentle crackle, the sense that nothing more is needed. This is a small pause in the day, a moment just for you. No demands, no rush, only stillness, warmth, and the simple pleasure of being read a story. My name is Kate Field, and these stories are written and shared as a kind of offering, an offering of rest. Tales shaped by the Dorset and Devon landscapes where I now live and love. Tales of friendship and memories and little touches of wonder. Whether you're listening to drift into sleep or simply to settle your thoughts, I am glad you're here. Take a slow breath. Let the day soften. Give yourself a few moments now to relax. Feel the tension in your body and gently let it go. Breathe gently. This time is for you. Tonight's story returns us to the Dorset coast, where Louisa and her small boat slip in and out of quiet adventures. These stories follow her life, her lifelong friendship with Martha, and the gentle discoveries found in coves, cupboards, letters, and the soft corners of memory. Each tale stands alone, but together they weave a shoreline of companionship, small joys, and moments that deepen with the turning of the tide. So settle in, breathe a little more slowly, and join me for another story from the water's edge. This evening's story is The Letter in the Cupboard, where Louisa uncovers a piece of the boat's past, and she and Martha reflect on the long thread of friendship that has carried them from childhood into the gentler years of life. When I bought the boat, I knew it came with a history. You could sense it in the softened timber around the hatch, in the faint smell of lavender that clung to the cabin, as if it had found a forever home there. June, the boat's previous owner, had told me she was leaving behind a few things. Her mother's knitted blanket stayed folded at the end of the bunk, pale blue and warm as a memory. The kettle she gave me whistled so enthusiastically it seemed determined to be part of every conversation. But I wasn't expecting the letter. It turned up on a mild afternoon in early spring when I finally persuaded myself to tackle the galley cupboard, a space I had avoided, partly because the door stuck and partly because I sensed it held stories I wasn't yet ready for. The door yielded with a groaning reluctance. Inside were the usual relics: an elderly tin of tomato soup, a rusty opener, and an out-of-date tide chart. Under these, wrapped in a scrap of oilskin, lay an envelope, yellowed, softened at the edges, addressed in a firm, sea-weathered hand. To June and the faithful dog. I sat down on the berth, the boat rocking gently as if waiting with me, and I opened the letter. The paper crackled like leaves on a dry path. Dear June, I'm glad she's yours now. She responds best to a steady hand and a patient spirit, and you have both. I've left you my old brass inclinometer. Not much use these days, except for making sure your mug of tea won't slide about, but it belonged to my father, who sailed her long before either of us. Keep it on board. It's part of her character. I hope the sea gives you peace, as it did me. And when you head west, look out for the gull with the notched wing. He's been my companion more years than I care to count. May the tide treat you kindly. A friend from before. I read it twice more, feeling as though I were listening in on a conversation long finished but still warm. Later that week, when Martha returned from visiting her sister, I invited her aboard for tea. She dropped her bag onto the deck and grinned. "Did you tidy?" she asked, mock alarmed. "I did." "How unusual." She stepped into the cabin and spotted the letter lying on the table. "What's this?" I passed it to her, and she read it slowly, the kettle hissing behind us like an over-eager commentator. "Oh, this is lovely," she said. "Imagine leaving something so thoughtful, not knowing who would read it next." "Makes you think," I replied. She sat down opposite me, smoothing the blanket over her lap. "Do you remember that school trip to Swanage?" she said. "When you made me pick up every interesting stone on the beach until my pockets broke?" "I remember you insisting each one looked like a dinosaur egg," I replied. "Well, they did," she said, laughing. "Hardly surprising we turned into middle-aged beachcombers, is it?" "We were always searching for things," I said. "Even at 11. "Yeah," she said softly, "but not always the same things." I looked at her. "And now?" "Well, we find them together more often than not," she replied, "which I consider something of a triumph." We laughed, and the conversation drifted elsewhere. But her words stayed with me, the comfortable truth of long friendship, woven through years of separations, reunions, and that unspoken knowledge of who we had once been. A few days later, I took the boat out alone. The sea lay quiet, brushed with early morning silver. I set a steady course west, just as the letter described. Halfway between Charmouth and Seaton, a gull landed on the rail, a neat notch on one wing, healed long ago. "Well," I said, "there you are." The gull regarded me with a frank, unimpressed gaze and stayed most of the morning, departing only when another vessel's wake rocked us sharply. I felt curiously blessed by his company. When Martha and I sailed again the next afternoon, I told her the gull had visited. "Well then," she said, "you've been properly introduced to the lineage of this boat." I showed her the brass inclinometer, beautifully aged, polished to a dull glow. Martha picked it up gently. "It feels like a hand on the shoulder, doesn't it?" I nodded. I suppose people leave themselves behind in small, helpful ways. "You do that, Louisa," she said, "without noticing." "So do you." She smiled. "That's why we've lasted." Summer softened the days. One warm evening, after we'd returned from a gentle sail to Beer and back, we made tea and sat beneath the fading light. The gull visited again, perching on the rail as if listening in. "You should write something," Martha said, "for whoever comes next. When we were 11, you wrote in every notebook you owned. Why stop now?" I thought about June's blanket, carefully folded, the inclinometer resting by the chart table, the letter tucked inside its oilskin. "I think I will," I said. That night, the sea whispering against the hull, I wrote, "To whoever finds this in the cupboard, this boat has been a small, steady joy in my life. She's carried old friends, new laughter, a great deal of soup, and more peace than I expected to find at this stage of things. I hope she gives you the same. Look for the gull with the notched wing when you sail west. He's a loyal sort, if slightly rude. And keep the inclinometer where it is. A line of steady hands has held it before you. May your days be kind, and the sea patient with your learning. A friend, from now." I placed the new envelope behind the old one. The cupboard door gave its familiar little sigh as it closed, as though settling around this next layer in its quiet archive. When I joined Martha on the deck the next morning, she handed me a mug of tea and nudged my shoulder. "Ready?" she said, the sea breathing steadily around us. And I felt, in the quiet way the coast teaches, that the true legacy isn't in the objects we leave, but the gentle ways our lives continue in the hands of others. The end. Thank you for sharing this quiet moment with me. I hope Louisa's world, the sea, the boat, and the steady thread of friendship has brought you a little calm this evening. When you're ready for another gentle tale, you will always find one waiting here by the fireside. Until then, rest well, breathe deeply, and may the tide carry you softly into sleep.